A lot of people who have ambitions in life understand that it takes a lot of effort to get there. You have to work hard, you have to be consistent, you can't give up. And almost all of them think that motivation is required for that. But I want to bust this up straight away that motivation is irrelevant. Now, even if motivation was relevant, the problem isn't the fact that you lack motivation. The problem is that you lack identity and structure. Now, structure is something that can be fixed when you control your environment, and identity is something that forms over time. So, what do you instead focus on? You do not have motivation, and even if you do have motivation, that's not enough. So, what do you substitute motivation with? The answer is simple. This took me a long time to figure out. I have been an entrepreneur for 7 years. While being an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of jobs. I've sold things on the streets. I have made content, raised money, scaled companies, failed at that as well. And after 7 years of doing this consistently, I have realized that it's not motivation that gets me through all of it. It is my environment. Now, environment is the key word here. When you control an environment, you control everything else. Now, this channel is all about entrepreneurship, so I'll give a lot of examples keeping entrepreneurship in mind, but it goes beyond it. It's not just for entrepreneurship. Environment can be used for a lot of things. For example, I have been an abuser of smoking for almost the entire 7 years of my life where I've been an entrepreneur. Only recently did I quit it. It's been 10 months since I last smoked. But for 7 years, almost every single day, I smoked. And towards the last 3 years, I tried quitting. While trying to quit, I quickly realized how addicted I was to smoking. And I quickly realized that addiction is a hard thing to quit. You can't just quit it. I tried a lot of methods. There's this book called Atomic Habits. There are therapists. There are drugs that I took to be able to quit smoking. None of them worked. What eventually worked was the fact that I changed my environment instead of trying to quit a habit through motivation, through hard work, through willpower. So what I instead did, instead of quitting smoking, I stopped drinking. Instead of quitting smoking, I stopped going out for dinners at night. Instead of going out for dinners, I stopped having dinners in general. I cut down on my social life. I cut off all of my friends who smoked. This is the change in environment that I bought in my life in the name of lifestyle. Basically, I changed my lifestyle, which changed my environment, which stopped me from smoking. And this chain reaction has completely changed my life. In this past 10 years, not a single puff of cigarette or anything else, which I've been doing for the past 7 years every single day. That is the power of environment. If an environment can change a long-standing addiction, imagine the power it has for your career, for your ambitions, how fast it can get you there. So, the next time you think that you lack motivation, it's not motivation, you lack identity and structure, which both can be fixed with your environment. Now, structure is self-explanatory. You change your lifestyle, you change your environment, eventually you build a structure through it, and that fixes your life. But what does identity mean? The difference in identity and motivation is that you need motivation to form an identity. But when you have identity by default, you don't need motivation to get something done. Now, I'll be more specific here. When people ask me, do you smoke? I say no instead of saying not anymore. Most often when people quit smoking, they say not anymore. Again, what happens when you say not anymore is that people start having conversations with you. They start probing you further. Why did you quit? What happened? And that reasoning with yourself eventually gets you back to smoking. But when you just say no, that's a different identity. That's the identity of a non-smoker instead of a smoker that quit. Now, this new identity is much easier to maintain than an identity someone that I have to explain to someone else. That is the difference between motivation and identity. Now, if you're someone who has a strong identity of working hard, not procrastinating, being consistent, along with a good structure in your life, it's almost impossible for you to fail. It's almost impossible for you to give up. Because now, instead of associating yourself with the output, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be successful, you start associating yourself with your environment, which in return focuses on your input instead of your output. And at the end of the day, all you can control is your input. You cannot control your output. So when you form an identity that is linked to your input and you form a structure that helps you get to your output faster, you have a very powerful entrepreneurial life. Cheers.